Chapter 10.
The agony was relentless, gnawing at him and robbing him of rest. Draco was grateful to his mother for the numbing potion vials she'd given him. Yet their effects dwindled too soon. A sleeping draught, or even dreamless sleep, would be preferable now. Despite using a muffliato around his dorm, along with a spelunca secure to shut his curtains as tightly as imaginary walls could hold, he felt irrationally exposed to prying eyes. During Malfoy Manor's dark reign, he slept under more powerful charms and still felt vulnerable, because caution was the rule under Voldemort, and the threat he posed far outreached the haunted unknown. Yet there had been twisted solace in the specter of impending doom, a familiarity in the monotonous terror of dementors that never left, standing vigil beyond fragile walls. Back here, unnerved, in the same bed he had known as a boy, Draco was kept awake by excruciating pain that was alien to his younger self and fears he never dreamed. He aimed to visit Severus promptly, yet when the prefects finally escorted them to the first-year dormitory, it was already late, not least due to an unscheduled intermission. Exhaustion and the late hour made Draco think it wise to defer until tomorrow, when Severus might be more receptive and less irritable with handling a problematic puzzle. Draco planned to approach him after potions class to arrange a private meeting in Severus' chambers as he did years ago during his initial stint at Hogwarts. There, perhaps in one of those unattractive but surprisingly comfy leather armchairs by Severus' mystic green fire, Draco could lay bare his troubles. Tomorrow. He fancied he was worn out, yet true sleep evaded him, shifting continuously under the covers, in every position a temporary comfort, each promising sleep before it was snatched away by the flare of pain in his back. Skin breaches were beyond the healing spells Draco knew, his injuries superficial but still outside the realm of the simple bone break spells he had mastered. Togio helped clean dried blood but worsen the stinging. He mused whether wounds inflicted non-magically might resist magical healing more stubbornly, not that he had the requisite knowledge for someone long in the company of misery and death. Yet, his father prioritized teaching Draco the infliction of suffering over its relief. The spell Severus, once used on him, would be invaluable now. Without it, Draco had another hurdle to overcome. Morning, potions class, seemed unbearable without sleep, much less under this unyielding pain. Perhaps he could summon the courage to ask Severus for healing then, to rid the marks before infection or scarring, but that prospect felt excruciatingly distant. Draco regretted not having Severus guide him through that spell before his demise. The incantation wasn't the sole source of relief from Potter's sixth-year curse. Didn't applied directly, aided by lessening both pain and scars. Though he'd mostly observed its pain relief, who could say how much worse it would have been without it? Severus, not stingy with his supplies afterward, ignored missing Didney from his stores that Draco clearly pilfered. Draco had rarely visited Severus' storeroom over 6 years, yet he was one of the privileged few allowed. Severus maintained precise organization unchanged. Maybe the Didney stayed in its old spot. It was amusing how the utmost paralysis and cowardice could propel one to act merely from discomfort. Draco slipped on a thick robe matching his green pajamas, for his house preference left no room for convenience in color transfiguration. He noted, smugly, how silent his exit was, leaving his peers undisturbed. Despite being a more disciplined first year, he later crept these corridors more often, before leaving Hogwarts. The path remained entrenched in memory, walked more by recollection than by sight, with a dim Lumos light and sporadic illumination from lake-reflected midnight blues, guiding Draco's silently charmed steps. Severus' storeroom, secured by standard charms and some unique spells since thefts in 4th year, was never meant for the likes of Draco to crack. Nonetheless, the blood bond granted him access, circumventing the protection set. Wand at forefront with his hand touching the cold stone, he murmured, "Draco Malfoy, godson to Severus Snape. Sanguinaire." With little resistance, the door opened. Coaxing his wand from supernova brightness, he hobbled to the precious Didney tucked low. Though bending wasn't ideal, Fortune found ample blossoms just waiting for him. He murmured spells reverently. Diffindo separated the needed cuts, and Evanesco banished traces of his actions without mishap, impressing himself with delicate control. The Didney would serve well here, its leaves applied self-assuredly with a singular hope they worked on non-magical wounds. And perhaps, healing or sleep-inducing potions might be close while he tested fate in one night's audacious venture. But Severus wouldn't think a first year was bold enough to pilfer from him. Draco stood tall, casually slipping his pouch of Didney leaves into his pocket. He contemplated the risky move of taking dreamless sleep from the shelf, if he could spot any, and then nearly toppled backward when he realized the man he was thieving from was standing right there. "Severus," Draco exclaimed, finding his footing and securing the shelf to prevent disaster, though in his hurry, he dropped his wand. Severus retrieved it, his face hidden in shadows cast by his Lumos spell, garbed in his customary flowing black robes, as though he had worn them since his cradle and would take them to his grave. Draco glanced between Severus's face and his wand in Severus's grip, and he realized fear was the expected emotion, yet what he felt instead was the absurd urge to embrace Severus, to hold him tight and shout, "You're alive! You're alive! Thank you, I'm sorry." Draco reached internally for his strongest occlumency defenses. It wasn't that Severus attempted to invade his mind. He was simply staring with that familiar dispassionate expectation, more intimidating than any shouting or threat could be. He had missed Severus terribly. "Did you seriously think," Severus drawled finally, when Draco failed to babble out apologies as one might have anticipated, "that you could pilfer from my personal collection and remain undetected?" The last few words of the question were dragged out like ominous warnings, Severus's almost melodic monotone forever entwined in Draco's memories with the sense and warmth of potion brewing. Hearing them felt akin to an avid Celestina Warbeck fan hearing her famous voice live for the first time. That is, if that star vocalist had recently survived death and returned. Draco nearly broke into laughter, thinking about Severus's panic if he knew how internally overjoyed Draco was at being chastised by him once more. "I don't know." Draco trailed off before repeating the name Severus. "I don't know, sir." Severus wasted little time peering at him with his hawk-like focus before shifting his attention to Draco's wand. Anybody else holding his wand would have invoked immediate fear in Draco, even father or mother, but not Severus. "Did you expect," Severus intoned, each word slicing through the air like a sharpened razor of superiority, "that your new fondness for unsupervised magical tinkering would escape my notice, Draco? Did you believe I would do nothing, watching you utilize that foolish moment when your mother persuaded me to become your godfather, dragging yourself into further messes? And did you think I wouldn't take measures to unearth such rashness from you?" Yes, Draco ought to have considered that. The notion that father might be the one to alert Severus of Draco's indiscretions was less amusing than his own blunder, yet enduring Severus's ridicule again was a small price to pay. "I'm not surprised, Draco. Not surprised at all. Except that you chose to attempt such stupidity during your very first night." In the dead of night, caught stealing, 2 wands aimed at him, his back ablaze, 7 years ahead of his time, and yet Severus's hissing derision felt like sunlight upon him. "Safe," Draco mused, fervent hope bubbling within. Safe. For the first time since taking the mark, the word rang true, for he had reached irritable, greasy Severus, as beautifully cruel as ever. Reached safety. "Professor," Draco stated steadily, contemplating how the Draco of 11 years might have reacted to such venom, likely with at least some degree of cowardice, but hiding was futile now that he could finally reveal the truth to another living soul. "Professor, all that, it's beside the point. I needed to speak to you anyway. As soon as possible. I have something crucial to tell you. Something happened to me a month ago, something." He was unsure where to start. More detailed planning would have been wise, especially since he anticipated having until the following day, with the sting gone from his wounds. Something that made me different. I'm not the person you knew anymore. Draco had known the Severus from before Hogwarts, yet the godson Severus occasionally saw growing up had essentially disappeared from this body. I have a secret, and you're the only one I can trust to confide in, just you. Eliminate these grand declarations, Draco. Severus interjected with a prolific eye roll, adding a dramatic flick of his robe sleeve that Draco had tried yet failed to duplicate. I'm fully aware of what you're referring to. Kindly spare me further ambiguity. You do? Draco's youthful voice shot up in disbelief. He knew Severus's intellect was unmatched, but he hadn't predicted Severus could deduce things so swiftly without a hint. Perhaps Severus had delved into his mind earlier, during that ordeal with the Sorting Hat, without Draco's notice? Was it possible Severus already knew all his secrets and merely awaited direction on how to resolve this predicament? Could Severus have a plan to set things right? I should have expected you would, sir. With cool detachment, Severus regarded him, seeming to conclude his assessment, then returned Draco's wand. This wand, Draco. Even without being regaled with the tale of your blunder, do you think I'd miss the taint of Bellatrix Lestrange upon the walnut? Draco felt a surreal disappointment deflate him, like the burst of 1,000 children's balloons, a glimmer of each imaginative shape from a birthday party he'd never attended filling his chest, only to be punctured and swept away, indistinguishable debris, without the life inside. Yes, Professor, Draco acknowledged softly, taking his wand. What? Severus seethed, angling his malevolent gaze to align with Draco's dejected expression. What on earth prompted you to claim this wand? Pain pulsed against Draco's back, resisting the urge to collapse. I didn't know whose it was. I'm still clueless about what it implies to possess another's wand, even Aunt Bella's. Aunt Bella conjured a brow rise from Severus, perhaps from a too familiar slip of the tongue. But what else should he call his mother's sister? The dire enchantress Lestrange? Other than that, it may not perform as well, but this wand works better. Nearly saying better than my last one, he caught himself. Than any I've ever wielded, he mumbled. Just harder to control. But does this wand have some evil about it, sir? Does a bit of personality, dark magic, or legacy linger in it? Or is it simply wrong if Aunt Bella escapes Azkaban and demands it back someday? He hoped he'd be far from the past by then. You will not, Severus grumbled, disdain seeping through as he straightened up, be possessed by another's magic or persona through a wand, Draco, not even theirs. If your father's been feeding you that nonsense, expel such thoughts with haste. A wand possessing its own enigmatic qualities reveals its jealousy in its selection of Bellatrix, and now you. Your father's accounts of your lackluster attempts with other wands amplify this peculiar situation. Severus gave a dry chuckle as he observed Draco's shock. Indeed, Draco, your father reached out to me, misguidedly hoping for a potion to dissolve this bond, his voice laced with disdain over such naivety. There is no potion. Naturally. My advice to him, as I now advise you, is that in time, perhaps 2 or 3 years, you might find enough strength in your magic, likely as you mature, to make use of other wands. He acknowledged the unlikely prospect, since Draco was already grown, but appreciated the effort to encourage him. At your tender age, with magic so closely entwined with this wand, your only avenue is to embrace it and wait. Oh, Draco murmured, gazing downward, feeling a remorse he'd never known in his father's presence. I'm sorry, sir. A peculiar wonder, Severus pondered aloud, for this wand to have attached itself to you, Draco, at such a youthful stage. One wouldn't readily anticipate such potency in your magic. Draco froze, fearing his secret was at risk of exposure, before reminding himself he intended to share it soon enough. But Severus pressed on. None of this justifies any clandestine activities involving potions. What is it, Draco Malfoy, that you're hiding in your pocket? Severus hadn't seen what Draco had taken from the shelf, yet with an embarrassed sort of shame, Draco revealed the pouch and handed it over. Well selected, Severus noted, sniffing a leaf under his distinguished nose that had frowned in suspicion moments before. Nothing on the shelf was harmful. It took but a moment for his eyebrows to quirk upwards, the familiar expression changing to something less definitive. Didn't he? After a scrutinizing pause, he gestured to Draco, "Follow me." Following Severus, Draco navigated the familiar route to his chambers, recalling the comforting flicker of that enchanted fireplace, unexpectedly comforting in the company of another Slytherin. Emotion tugged at his throat as he sat in the well-known leather armchair. Yet Severus didn't leave him there long. "Show me," he commanded, and with a heavy heart, Draco removed his robe and pajamas, exposing the marks on his back, hoping that their revelation would bring healing rather than further pain. Severus inhaled sharply, seemingly more taken aback than Draco anticipated. Then again, Father seldom inflicted such damage when Hogwarts loomed near. Oddly, Draco had only sought Severus's aid once before when injured, and he had done nothing but survive Potter's curse. "What caused these?" Severus asked, tone brisk and appreciated. "A cane," Draco confessed simply. "I mean, a walking stick," inadvertently pointing the finger at the obvious culprit. "This morning." "Have these been tended to?" Severus inquired with his usual professionalism. Draco shook his head, ashamed yet relieved not to meet Severus's eyes. "No, only Mother gave me numbing potion," Draco revealed. "It's already gone." He heard Severus's sigh, filled with the weight of endless disappointment. "Do you think they'll scar?" "Thus the didn't he," Severus said, a trace of humor breaking through, warming Draco's heart. Making Severus laugh was a rare victory. "Naturally. Vain boy." "And for the pain," Draco added in a small voice. "Doesn't it help with that too?" He tried to sound brave, but his words lacked conviction, quivering as he admitted, "It hurts, sir." "I can imagine," Severus replied dryly, initiating the soothing hum of a song that Draco only recalled in hazy fragments, the feeling of warmth washing over him. Severus's presence signified safety, even if he felt undeserving. This time, the healing song was shorter than for the Sectum Semper injuries, although that had needed 3 rounds. The first to stem bleeding, the second for clearing residue, Draco's favorite part as it undid his clumsy tergio, then reconciling the skin. He'd heard Severus's rationale back then, though shock and hurt had dominated over curiosity. Like before, Severus paused between rounds, allowing the pain to slowly recede with each tune. "You made a wise choice with didn't he?" Severus told him, massaging the leaf paste into the closed wounds. Draco stifled a cry, focusing instead on the care Severus showed, a testament to his faith reborn. "Have a friend apply it each night for a week, then return to me for a checkup." Draco's stubborn silence conveyed its own message. "Too proud to let anyone else see them, Draco?" "I don't have any friends," Draco murmured, "but I can manage myself," and Severus laughed, a true laugh this time. "No change in you, vain boy," Severus mused, still ever so dramatically inclined, as he completed the treatment. Once dressed, the relief and remnants of pain mixed in Draco's senses made him dizzy with gratitude and determination. "Away with you now, to your friends," Severus directed, "and remember, if you get caught sneaking in, I will not cover for you," urging Draco to rise when he suddenly remembered. "Please wait, sir. Just one more thing." Draco's mind raced. What could he say? "I am 18, trapped in this younger body, needing your help to ensure Harry defeats the resurrected Voldemort without catastrophe? More simply, would you bring me a pensive to prove I'm not under some spell or torment for my father? Or, with utmost urgency, please see my mind, walls down, and through legilimency, understand how we might save the future the same way again, dear Godfather?" Or chillingly, want insight into your demise? Can you help ensure history repeats itself perfectly? "Well," Severus demanded, eyes narrowed at such unwelcome hesitation. But Draco couldn't bring himself to speak. Perhaps a sleeping potion? His request came feebly, rewarded only with murtlap essence. No dreamless sleep. Severus had shown him kindness. One day, he would tell Severus. Just not today. Once his injury mended sufficiently to sharpen his thoughts and lend credibility to his tale, he knew the timing would be crucial. Patience was essential. He had to bide his time until then, for otherwise, Severus would remain skeptical. Waiting was the prudent choice.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this chapter, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated with more audiobooks. Happy listening!